Now let's do more practice on the line command. So this diagram I want to draw. See, I'll show you this diagram using absolute method and then relative method. We can draw it with the polar also, but the angle values are missing. So I'll take one different example for the polar method. I'll draw the same with absolute and relative. Try to understand how I'm calculating the coordinates. First, I have to set the limits. As the diagram is having length 6 and height 3, so I'll take the lower left corner 0, 0 and upper right corner it must be 10 in x direction, and you can take 10 in y direction, no issues. So after setting the limits, z enter, e enter. Now I'll go for the line command. So press L enter or type line enter. Now it is asking me start of the line, so I put 0, 0 origin as the start of the diagram. After that it is asking me the next point. So as I'm going to draw it with the absolute method, so the next coordinates will be 1 in the x direction movement and 0 in y direction movement. So coordinates will be 1, 0. After that the value of coordinate is 1 in x-axis and 0.5 in y-axis. After that the next point coordinate are 5 in x-axis and 0.5 in y-axis. After that it is 5 in x-axis and 0 in y-axis, and next one is 6 in x-axis, 0 in y-axis. After that it is 6 in x-axis, 2 in y-axis. Then it must be 6 minus 2, 4. So 4 in x-axis and 2 in y-axis as per the dimension. Now the next coordinates are 6 is the total length. 6, if I subtract 6 minus 2, 4, and add 0.75, so it's 4.75. so value of x is 4.75 and value of y is 3 for this point. So this is the required point. Now the total length is 2 minus 0.75, that is 1.25. so the coordinates will be in x direction it is 1.25 and y direction it is 3. Now after that the coordinates will be 2, 2. Exact coordinate, because this is the absolute method, so I have to give the exact coordinates with respect to origin. Now after that the value of x is 0 and value of y is 2, and in the last it is 0, 0. So this is the diagram. So still it is in the line command, so you have to press escape to come out of the line command. Now I can zoom this, z enter, e enter. This is the diagram we have drawn with the absolute method giving absolute coordinates. Now we will draw the same diagram with the relative method. So I will select all and delete this. Everything is erased. Now I'll go for the relative method. So first I have to set the limits. So I'm setting the limits 0, 0 lower left corner as per the diagram. It must be, you can take any value bigger than that, the dimensions, maximum length, maximum width. Z enter, E enter. Now my command will be line command. Now see, I have to draw this diagram using relative method. So relative tell me with respect to previous point how much movement we have made. Consider the previous point as origin, then calculate. So let's see. Now I'm giving the line command, L enter. Now it is asking me the start of line, that is origin 0, 0. Now how I will tell to the compiler that I'm using the relative method, putting @x, y. So syntax is @x, y. Now I will calculate the values with respect to the previous point, how much I am moving. So consider the previous point as origin 0, 0 value to make the calculations easy. So the last point I have taken 0, 0. How much I want to move with respect to this 0, 0? It is one movement in x direction, but put one movement in x direction, 0 movement in y direction. So the compiler come to know x, y that it is the relative coordinates, not exact coordinates. Now the next point is, after drawing the first part, how much I want to move in x direction, at the rate 0, and how much I want to move in y direction at the rate 0.5 in single at the rate x comma y. So this is done. Now same at the rate, how much I want to move in x direction 4, in y direction 0. After that, now where my movement should be downward, so how much I want to move in x direction at the rate 0, and how much I want to move in y direction, this is minus 0.5 because I want to move downward. So downward will be minus, upward positive, similarly right side positive, left side negative. Now after that I want to move now 1 unit on right side, so at the rate 1 comma 0, 0 movement in y direction. So the compiler will remain in the same line command until you change the command by pressing escape and giving the line command. Now the x direction movement is minus 2 and y direction movement is 0. Now the x direction movement is 0.75 and y direction movement is 1. After this, now the next is 3.5 in left side, so it will be x direction movement is minus 3.5. Y direction movement is 0 with respect to the previous point. Remember this is the relative method. After reaching to this point, now my x direction movement will be positive 0.75 and y direction movement will be downward, so it is minus 1. After that, now my x direction movement is minus 2 because it is going left side. Y direction movement is 0. Now after this, my x direction movement will be 0 and y direction movement with respect to the previous point, y direction movement will be minus 2. See, now I'm going to zoom this, escape, after that Z enter, E enter. See, this is the diagram, same diagram I have drawn with the relative method. Next I will draw the different diagram with the polar method. In the main diagram you can mix the methods like polar or absolute or relative, but particularly using single command I have drawn this diagram. Thank you.